Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Big Home Ed Conversations. My name is Kelly Rigg. I'm a home ed mum of two and a qualified mindset and ADHD coach. I'm passionate about supporting parents and neurodivergent families as they navigate children not okay at school and ultimately then the transition from mainstream schooling into home education. I'm here together with my lovely co-host, Ashley Venerio, a fellow home ed mum of three and former primary teacher. We created the Big Home Ed Conversations podcast with what began as honest, heartfelt talks around the coffee table. And it's now grown into a space where hundreds of listeners now tune in for real, unfiltered conversations about alternative education mindset and educational philosophies. We cut through the noise and we try and focus on what really matters to home educating families. This season, we have been sponsored by Stru, a home education logging app that's been developed by a home educating mum and her brother. They have given us access to the app to play around with and to enjoy over the next few weeks. And we are basically then reviewing it and letting you know what we like about it. We have really been noticing, both myself and Ashley were chatting before we got on, that we really particularly enjoy the feed. So you get to kind of upload photos. You can write a bit about what you've been up to as well. You can even scan things and stuff like that to kind of put in there. And ultimately, then it kind of runs to an AI kind of profile, which helps to figure out whether or not it's kind of covered reading, literacy, mathematics, etc., and gives you these study points. But what's really fantastic about it is when you've logged it all and you've clicked done and it's all kind of put it into the system, you've then got this really great feed that you can scroll through. So if you're sticking photos in there, it's a really lovely opportunity to actually look back on the memories of what you've been up to. I know that I do take photos quite a lot of what we've been up to, and they sit in my phone with no comments attached to them whatsoever. And ultimately, I'm then relying on my brain to remember what was so great about that activity. What was it that we did? And why did we enjoy doing it so much? And why did we feel like it was worthy of noting? And so I really love the fact that I can go back through and have a scroll and see kind of just these lovely images, but then also some text and information that I've written, but also that the AI in it has helped kind of glean from it as well to help me really know what we've been up to.
I'm loving the look of it as well. I think opening the app and seeing the feed full of pictures is so helpful in just visualizing what we're doing in our day.
I think it's really great, isn't it? I mean, I think we're definitely going to uncover lots of other things we like about this over the next few weeks. So we'll tell you more about it next week. For now, though, I'm sure you're all absolutely dying to hear how on earth we managed to cover capital allocation and investing with our children. Now, we've absolutely done ourselves a number this time because we recorded one episode and now we've literally given ourselves, 5 days between episodes before we've actually been recording again because our schedules are a little bit wonky with the Easter holidays. Is it
Yeah,
4?
not even because it feels like 4 days. I
So
don't know. It felt really short.
it has
It's
been
not
really
enough.
short. We've been a proper mad dash to try and actually cover this, which I think even a week is going to feel like a mad dash sometimes, but we're
It
going to have
will.
fun with it.
Yes.
So you'll have to bear with us. We've done some other things we're going to talk to you about, and we're also going to do some more in the future. So what is really great, though, is what we're going to do alongside this is make sure that on our blog, so if you head to our website, bighomedpodcast.com, we have a blog. We will be doing a blog every week, which will list the resources that we've ended up using. So do remember to go in there and grab that and make your life easier. So don't feel like you've got to scribble down everything that we've said. We will be putting it out there so that you can obviously read up on what we've been up to. But yeah, so I guess my initial reaction to this topic was, man, like this is hard work. Like even this is like a new thing for me as a grown up, that we were literally laughing just before we got on about as I started looking into this, it made me go, I've got a pension pot somewhere. Where is that pension pot? Who is it with? I can't remember where it was now. And like found myself just going and having a little look at it because I kind of wanted to show the kids like the investments and allocation that I've done with my capital and to see kind of to sort of explain why those things are important. Just as like an initial chat about it. And I was really like, my goodness, I have not got my stuff together. Like, this is not great, is it, to be honest? So it's actually been quite insightful from that perspective as well. Like, it did make me stop and think, like, where am I doing well with this? Where am I not doing so great? Are there anything else that I'd like to be doing? And actually, there's lots. And I think there's a really great book that I found called Why Money Matters. I think it's written by Deborah Meaden, that I've ordered. We haven't got it yet, but it looks really good to help kind of explain to kids why money matters and what to start doing with it. And there's some really other, like, loads and loads of books out there about investing and sort of helping young children to start investing their money, even to the point of like going to the charity shop and finding a kit that teaches them a skill, which that skill could then one day translate into obviously opportunity or in a career. And so actually every time we develop a skill, we're investing in ourselves. And that sort of time that we invest in ourselves is super important because it does equate to money later. So even just some of those sort of attitudes was really, really good.
Mm.
But to kind of stop myself from jumping around too much, I guess my initial reaction was this is going to be quite difficult. But actually, I didn't really find it all that difficult once I got started. It was actually okay. And I did manage to find some fun stuff to do with them. But where did you start, Ashley? How did you feel about this when we first started it?
When we ended the podcast and I was thinking about it a bit, I was pretty excited because we have been having ongoing conversations about setting up the kids' bank accounts so that they could actually see their money and have a better way to keep it versus like the baggy system they've adopted in their bedrooms. I never have cash on me, so it would be much easier to actually transfer money into their bank accounts than to sit here and be like, okay, well, here, you have $10. Remember that. It still feels like my money when we're out. So I don't want to actually necessarily have them spend it on the things they want to spend it on. So I think this will give
Mm,
some clear separation and also not have my daughter carrying around bags of money that then get left in the car. And it just feels
yeah,
unsafe. So I was pretty excited from that perspective because this is the fire that we needed to actually get some action going. And I've wanted to have deeper conversations around why all this is important. And even though the kids always think it's boring, it's actually probably maybe one of the most important skills we could teach them
mm,
because it will impact them every day of their lives going forward,
yeah, it really
especially as
will.
adults. So I think it's a good thing. I had had some resources tucked away and it was okay, now we're going to bring them out and we're going to see how we can actually start doing this because it's so easy to say, "Oh, well, we're really busy with these other things. I don't want to add something else to the schedule where we'll just wait." And now it's like, no, now's the
Yeah.
time. So it's good. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was really interesting as well, because I mean, I know that it is such a kind of age old issue now, but I literally went straight to the lovely AI friend that we all are a bit obsessed with to get me a little bit of guidance on this, because whilst we do have obviously a game of Monopoly in the house, I was a little bit stumped. I was like, I don't want this to be too dry. I don't want them to
Yeah.
I don't want it to just be a lecture. I don't want to just sit there and be like, look at all of our money apps and this is how you move stuff around. I really wanted to make it relatable. And I had a kind of a concept in my head and I just wanted to kind of flesh it out a little bit more. So I was sort of saying like, right, using kind of household things, how can I teach my kids how kind of savings and investments are similar but different and all of that kind of side of things. Like, how can I get them to understand that obviously when we get paid every month or whatever we've earned every month, that all gets allocated out into different things. Like we have a budget, important stuff gets paid for first, blah, blah, blah. I really didn't want it to be really dry. And I was like, how do I make this fun? And so basically between me and the AI delightful thing that basically solves all my problems, we came up with a concept of like a family token currency. So we basically created
Mm.
our own currency to use for the weekend, which is Lego blocks. And they had a spend or spent pot. They had a save pot that for every 5 tokens that went into it, they would get one more every morning. And so after breakfast every morning, one more would go in for every 5 that went in there. And an investment pot. So they could put one into the investment pot, but then they had to roll a dice. And that might
Mm.
either lose, stay the same, or gain one, which meant that obviously the investment had the potential to grow faster, but also had the potential to be lost. So it's always a risk putting the money in there. You didn't want to lose it if you didn't have to. And then we had a family pot. So I insisted on having a family pot where they had to every day put at least 2 tokens into the family pot. And if they manage to reach 20 by tomorrow, then they're able to get a movie night and we're going to have Domino's and have like a proper family movie night. But they had to get 20 in there because they had to cover the mortgage, the bills and the food and everything else. Then we decided on some stuff they could spend their tokens on and the stuff that they would do to obviously earn tokens. And we decided, they agreed on it. We had a big chat about it and we agreed on what they were going to have to do. And they had to do, if they did a worksheet, for example, or read a few chapters of a book or something like that, they got 2 tokens. And so I am not kidding. My kids have done about 50 worksheets this weekend. Because I should have kept it because the stuff that they could spend the tokens on was like an extra hour on the VR. Like a bit of chocolate, like whatever else. And it's like they literally have done so much school. It is not even funny. I am just absolutely bowled over by how many things they have actually actively done. Like they've been checking constantly. They've been keeping an eye on it. Have I done my 2 into the family pot? Yes, I have. Okay, that's good. I've got 9 left. That means if I get one more, then I can have an hour on the VR later. Like they've been really working hard, and it's been really lovely to see them so motivated around the concept of working hard, contributing to the family. So they're helping out with things around the house, doing more kind of helpful things like loading the dishwasher, moving the washing over for me, like all of these things earn them tokens.
Right.
Obviously, this is not how we would normally run our day. It would be exhausting to do this all the time. But it was a really great exercise to show them that effort in equates to money out. That money can then be saved or invested or spent. And that ultimately, when we kind of finalize this and talk about it tomorrow, we kind of look at the whole experiment as a whole. I am going to sort of say to them, like, right, what were some of the things that had a higher token value, but you spent all of them on the lower token stuff because it was a quick win? That actually maybe you would have wanted to earn those bigger ticket things, and you would have really enjoyed getting to go to like soft play, for example. If they got 30 tokens, they could choose to go to soft play or something, and they never got there because they just kept spending it on chocolate and
Chocolate.
VR time. But ultimately, that's fine. Like, it's like, if that's how you want to use your money, that's how you use your money. But we all learn this lesson, right? Like, as we become adults and we've
Yeah.
suddenly got money coming in, it's like, oh, this is so exciting. I could go on holiday, or I can go to the pub, or I can like go out for dinner, and I can just buy all this fun stuff. This is amazing. All this money that I didn't have before. And it is very fun and freeing at first, but actually very quickly we realize that if we want to have anything big in life, like if we want to get married or go on a big holiday or buy a house, then we're going to have to save some serious moolah. And that kind of comes later. So I think if we did this experiment for a while, eventually they would start to want to save up some of those tokens for other things. Equally, they might diversify the way they're earning their tokens because they'd get bored of doing it that way, or whatever, right? And I think it's really fascinating as an experiment. And my son did risk the investments a few times, but he did find that quite tricky because obviously it's the frustration of losing a token just because. And as I said to
Mm.
him, that this is the problem. This, like, all it takes is for a certain president to say something at the moment and my stocks lose a couple of £100. Like, it's very frustrating, but you sometimes just have to hold tight and it will recover. But it can be quite worrying sometimes, especially if you don't know an awful lot about it. And so, yeah, that was really fun anyway. I'll let you kind of like share some of the stuff that you've been up to now. But that was my first thing. That's what we did first. And the kids really bought into it. And it was actually really good fun. And I think really did help to demonstrate that initial grasping of understanding that things do grow if they're left in pots and left alone for a little while.
Yeah.
Not for very long, short attention spans and all that.
I think also like another component of that, again, if you were continuing to do this or even not, but just like if one of those items was like, if you reach however many tokens, like 30, 40 tokens, then you'll get to go to soft play in 4 months.
Mm,
Like, because that patience that you were talking about and having to wait
mm,
to get the reward is also a component. So it's not even the
yeah.
saving up. It's like, I'm not going to get, like, if you think about saving for retirement, we're
Mm-hmm.
putting all this money away, but like, we're not going to see it for years. And that's a really hard thing when even as adults, if you're like, well, I really want to redo my kitchen. Kitchen's not bad, but I'd like to redo it because I would like it to be more modern or functional or clean or with the, updated, whatever the case may be. Okay, but do I really need to do that? No, my
Mm,
kitchen's perfectly fine. I could put that money in retirement, but that's pretty far away. And so
mm,
it's almost something you can ignore a little
yeah.
bit because it does feel really far away, but like there's a risk or there's a not a risk, but there's a downside to that, right? Because you're
Yeah.
missing out on potential interest. So anyway, it's really interesting. That's a really fun concept. I like that. I think I might implement that
Hmm.
on our side and see how they do. I'm sure they would end up doing the same thing.
Yeah. Even
My
just to get an easy school week. I mean, seriously,
I
people,
was
like
just
if you want to trade tons and tons and tons of written school just so you can get your folders filled up so that you can just relax for a week, then by all means do this game. It's
do
hilarious. They
this.
honestly loved it. They thought it was great fun.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. I like that. Yeah, we started on a feels much more academic, less fun introduction where we just sort of said like, okay, what is money? Like, what even is it? We talked about how it's sort of this mix of choices and opportunities, and You can break it into the categories, which we see over and over again in anything that you look at that's basically like personal finance or whatever you want to investing, whatever for children, which is those categories of spend, save, invest or grow, and give. And you often see it with like these cute little jars on the table and all the Instagram posts about the kids putting in, whether it's like actual money or like tokens kind of to your, I remember seeing like little felt balls and like how they would divide it up. So we talked about that. And I think that at least my thought was like, let's sort of put some words around what they already know because they know you need money to get stuff. And they know that money doesn't grow on trees because I say that all the time. We started that way. And then I found what I thought was a really cute YouTube video to watch because they like to watch stuff over breakfast. I think it's a good way to just get in like a 5 minute whatever. We do it for math concepts and things like that as well. But I found this YouTube video I thought was good and they were like not impressed. I thought was really good at like breaking things down and presenting it in a really great child way. I mean, that speaker was speaking to the children, like not to me clearly. And they just like, whatever, this is so boring. And they usually don't say that about TV. So it's so funny how like automatically they're like, ugh. So I was like, all right, cool. We'll not do any more of that. So I did quickly hop on to sort of like the same as you. I mean, I went to AI and I said, give me like a breakdown of what you would do to teach kids my children's age about capital allocation investing for a week like unit study.
Mm.
And I honestly didn't get anything like that groundbreaking. And then so I was like, well,
Mm.
what activities could I do? And I still didn't get like anything more than like create a fake allowance and like create your buckets. And so I was like, well, I don't
Mm.
want to do that.
Mm.
So I did go over to Teachers Pay Teachers and I did go through a bunch of resources on there because I do like to have my notebooks. I'm very big fan of Montessori style notebooking. And so I do like to have that. So I did go and find something I thought was really good about that. It was this resource called Personal Financial Literacy, and it's a third grade math unit. So I feel like that kind of slots right in the middle of my kids' age groups. And it's the topic we needed. So it's perfect.
Mm.
And you just basically use it to create this little notebook that breaks down like the major aspects of basically personal finance. So I thought it was really good. You can take a look at it through the samples on Teachers Pay Teachers. It's sweet. It was not expensive. So we have not gotten through that. I haven't even printed it yet. I did like download it and go through it myself, but I need to print the pages we want to do. And so that's basically where we're going to start from like a true school perspective. I think
Mm.
of anything that like goes into our notebook as being like super schooly because they'll have to like sit down and actually write something. But that was the first piece that I did. And then I think that since that we've done some other stuff, but I'll let you talk more about
Yeah.
what you've done.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. So, I mean, that sounds lovely. And at the end of the day, there's lots of different angles you can come at this from. And we're going to try some stuff with them and they're just going to go, it's kind of going over my head or it's not that interesting or whatever. But
Yeah.
that's what's great about these topics sometimes is it actually just gives you an opportunity to, okay, this isn't relating to you for some reason. Why not? Let's help you understand, like, how do you already do this? Like, how are you already aware of this? When you guys choose to put some stuff in the food bank box at Easter or Christmas or whatever, or when you guys choose to do that, you're
Mm.
giving, when you have your pocket money and you say to me things like, I really want Domino's for dinner. I'm like, are you paying? And you're like, yeah, okay, I'll give you £10 of my pocket money towards it. Like, I really want to have Domino's for dinner. Like, obviously I never make them do that. But ultimately I would say, that's really kind of you. That's really generous. And that's really considering the family needs. And I really appreciate that. Like that it isn't all just about having fun money to just spend on cuddly toys, which is absolutely what they want to do every time they go to the shop. My son, for example, has gotten much better in recent years at, like, when we do go to souvenir shops, like at the zoo or whatever, if there's nothing that really kind of calls out to him that he wants, he doesn't spend his pocket money. He does actually save it because he
That's
wants
good.
to get bigger things. And they both wanted to save up for their pets last year, which all kind of contributes towards it as well. But yeah, the only other thing I did really so far were two things. One is I sat down with my Plum app. So that is where I do all my savings and put on my savings pots. And I only sat down with my son because my daughter's a bit young. She's only 6 and she was honestly, she was mostly just enjoying trading her worksheets for chocolate. So I wasn't really reaching that one all that well. But my son is 9 and he was way more involved in this. He thought it was really interesting. And so he was happy to sit down with me and go through my savings app, kept asking me to give me all of my money. But apart from that, he's like, can I have half of that? I'm like, absolutely not. It's like, I have any idea what all this stuff I was going to pay for. But it was really great to show him like how I budget and how I keep track of how much we spend every month, and um like where we reprioritize money. So like if we do need to spend a bit more on say getting a washing machine, then we'll reprioritize it from something else, like the frivolous pots, like going out for dinner or whatever. But ultimately we've got the Plum app, which has all my savings pots where I structure our savings and have it automatically take money from the account. So I don't really think about it, and it just helps to go into savings all the time. So I'm not even having to consciously choose to do it. It's just saving it for me. And that stops me from feeling like I've got to constantly analyze like what we need to save money for and whether we can, and figure that out myself. It does it all for me. And within that, I then also do investments. So I showed him how all that works, and like the charts, like he was really good. I showed him some of the charts of some of the stocks that I hold. And I said, what can you tell me about the chart? Like what's going on there? And he was like, it went along really flat and it went up really fast. And I was like, right, so what does that mean? And we had a really great chat about kind of how I had bought some stocks when it was on that nice flat low bar, and how over the course of this year it's now up to like 150 a stock or whatever, share, sorry. And then obviously he was able to go, oh wow, so that means that you made X amount of money. So like if I bought it at that and it's now worth that, then I've made that difference. So he was really comprehending the concept. And then today we've literally just before we came on to do the podcast, we've started playing a game of Monopoly. So we've literally got about half an hour in, and I don't think I've ever actually completed a game of Monopoly. Like it's the kind of game.
They're long.
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness, it can go on for days. So I suspect that's exactly what will happen with this one. Like it will not be done and dusted today. It'll probably take us days to finish it, but I'm going to try and hold on and actually finish it with them.
Mm.
Because I do think it's really interesting to see how eventually it obviously makes one person win. But ultimately, they were both showing really strong skills with adding up the dice, adding up the money, like different combinations of notes to be able to buy the things they wanted to buy. They were grasping the concept of trying to collect all the colours so they can start putting the buildings on. They were really getting the rules very, very quickly, which was really positive for me to show their kind of the math skills, but also like they were both really intentional about like, I want to invest in the ones that are worth a lot because then I get more money, and they really got the idea. And so actually that just all fills me with hope that one day they will actually know what to do in this sort of scenario when it comes up in the real world. And that the only last thing I've really got is Monopoly Deal, which apparently is a much faster game and is much better for just this kind of, for much quicker kind of Monopoly games with them. So but we're going to give that a go when it arrives. But Amazon let me down. It was meant to come yesterday and it's not going to come until Wednesday, darn it. So never mind, you just have to be patient. We'll have to tell you about that one on the blog. But yeah, that's basically what we ended up doing with ours. I thought it was really interesting.
Yeah, I love Monopoly Deal. We actually have the Harry Potter version, so it's a little bit different, but I'd be curious to see like the original, and every person that's played it has given positive feedback. So I'm sure you like it. So this was like the kick I needed to get the girls' bank accounts set up. So I was hoping we could have done it before we recorded, but I couldn't get appointments until later in the week. So that is going to happen, which they're very excited about because I've probably put it off for about 6 months now.
Yeah.
And we'll do that. And then we did listen to a finance podcast. I searched for a few and I didn't listen to all of them, but I ended up starting with the one called Finance with Kids podcast. And I have kind of some pros and cons to it, but essentially it's a father-daughter duo that are talking about different concepts. They have 24 episodes out and they're all from 2023. So I don't think this is an active podcast, but I specifically chose to listen to episode 24, which is called Practicing Smart Spending Habits and Avoiding Impulse Buying, because I thought this would hopefully help calm the chaos of bringing kids shopping with you and then be like, can I have this? Can I have this? I want this. I want this. I need this. Please, 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 please. Like the craziness. And I hate saying no all the time. And I was sort of researching this a little bit and I forget where I heard this, but someone was saying instead of just saying no, you should say to your kids, like, if this is important to you, we can develop a plan to get it. So I'm not going to buy it for you today, but if you really need this new pony stuffed animal, then let's take a picture of it. And when we get home, we can put a plan together to save up for it and what that will look like. And I can tell you, it usually works in the moment. Actually, it's always worked for me so far. And never once have we had to develop the plan. So
They forget about it so fast, right?
they
It's so
don't
funny.
care by the time we get home. So I think it's really good. And it's like someone was saying, it's more respectful because to that, like, their perspective is so different from ours,
Mhm.
obviously. And to them, it can mean a really big deal. And to constantly be told no without a valid reason that makes sense to them is not a really easy concept. It just sounds like a no because I said no.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to do that a little bit more. And I think that I was hoping that this podcast would help to talk a little bit about impulse purchasing and why that's not necessarily a good thing. And I will say, I really liked it. It was a good message. It was delivered in a very short podcast. This is like maybe 13 or 14 minutes. It has a kid on it. So that already sounds like someone on their level. And I thought they delivered it well, like with a good back and forth. And obviously, it's meant for kids. So
Hmm.
it was a good, like, age appropriate podcast. But definitely go listen to episode 23. It's the only one I've listened to, but I am going to go and listen to the other ones because I think they break down like pretty big topics in a way that makes sense. And so then coming out of it, I said, okay, let's do a challenge as like the four of us who had just been at a couple charity shops before we listened to this podcast.
Hmm.
Let's not make any impulse purchases for the rest of April.
Mhm.
So for the like, yeah, half a month left. So for the rest of the month, we are not going to purchase something that we didn't go to the store intending on buying. And if we do want something that we see, we will have to go home and figure out if it fits into the budget, if it's something we truly need, and all of that. So the podcast kind of broke down what the criteria are for wanting to purchase something. I thought they did that really well. So yeah, really liked that and
Yeah.
thought this would be just a fun challenge. So we're going to be doing that. And based on the sort of advice from this podcast around practicing smart spending habits, we are going to track their goals. So we'll get the bank account set up. We're going to track their goals and basically say, like, what is it that they want to save for right now? And what is our plan to get there? Do you want to be able to purchase this next month? Are we talking about 5 months from now? Because that will impact how they save, how much they have to tuck away. And if
Yeah.
it's even realistic. So I really liked that podcast. I thought it was just perfect for sort of tackling an aspect of it. At the end, I did ask my middle daughter, well, I asked all of them, what do you think about it? And my middle daughter said, boring.
That sounds like her.
Yeah. I was like, but did you like it? And she's like, yeah, it was okay. 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 I'm going to
It's
call it a
just a
win.
tough nut, to be fair.
I'm going to call it a win. Yep. So I did find another one that's called FI for Kids, and the FI stands for Financial Independence. And this is an active podcast. It started in 2024, like the end of 2024, and it still has active ones from, I think the last one was from March. So it is still going from what it looks like. And it seems like a good place to start for parents. So it talks, I don't know that this would necessarily be something that a kid would listen to, but in reading all the descriptions for the episodes, it sounds to me like a really great place because it keeps saying what you would want to tell your child about this topic, what they need to do to set themselves up to be financially independent in their 20s, 30s, 40s. Like, what does that look like? Sort of preparing them. So I think if you're not really sure where to start, or even if you are and you just want to like check yourself, these episodes seem really interesting. And it's definitely something that I'm going to listen to. If it ends up being something I think my kids would be paying attention to, I'll absolutely do it for
Yeah.
them as well, but at least for me. So those were kind of from the podcast perspectives.
I think as well, like, I love what you're saying about the budgeting and the concept of kind of actually explaining to them when they want to get, say, a Lego set that's 20 quid. It's like, you're like, okay, but you've got this kind of a budget in your mind of what you wanted to spend that day or that month, or like you've already kind of gone a bit nuts and you've gone for a few days out or whatever, and you actually really haven't got that extra spare, and you feel a bit mean for saying no because you've obviously prioritized money elsewhere and this matters to them. But I love that kind of concept of asking them to budget and think about it and actually come up with their own way of getting there. I think it is a really respectful way of saying it's like, if you really want it, that's fine, but we've got to save up for it and go and get it ourselves. And also, I think I really love the idea of, I think what you're saying about them not really caring sometimes, or just being a bit like, this is kind of going over my head, or it feels a bit boring or whatever. When it's their money, it stops being boring, right? And I think this
Yeah.
is when my son really wanted to get a snake. I mean, we sat down and we had a chat about it, and we were looking up how much the terrarium costs and the snake itself and their food and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, this is kind of how much it costs to run, and this is how much it's going to cost to get one, and like all this sort of stuff. And he was like, can you get it? And I'm just like, no, I can't afford that right now. And I'm just like, if this is what you really want, then we've got to save up for it. And he was like, I can't save up that much money. That's huge. And actually, he did it in under 6 months. Like, he did really, really well at doing some extra stuff to earn some extra pocket money. And it kind of built up really fast with like birthday money and Christmas money and stuff. But I kept saying to him, like, you will appreciate this so much more when you've put the effort into making it happen for yourself. And I also think it's just so important for them to understand that when they're given pocket money, they can spend it on a quick win, like a cuddly snake from a shop that you're going to play with for 5 minutes. Or you could save that £10 and that £10 could go towards something that really matters to you. And actually, even my 6-year-old was able to save the same amount of money to be able to get her kitten that she wanted, which, to be honest, cost us a small fortune since we got them. But apart from that, I was like, I could take it all from her pocket money, but that would be mean, wouldn't it? But the kind of idea behind it is really strong, and it really helped them to understand that there is ongoing cost and there is something which they need to take care of. And yeah, when they're given that responsibility, they definitely care about it a heck of a lot more.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that was actually one of the messages in the podcast we did listen to that was saying, I think the girl had saved up for an e-bike, and it was like, you feel much more of a reward
Mm,
when you reach that milestone. And it's the same for big purchases as an adult when you buy your first home,
yeah.
And I think that's a really good message. And it is really hard to understand that until you've done it. And I thought the dad made a good point because he was like, I'm not buying you an e-bike for your birthday because clearly that's way too high of a price point for a birthday gift.
Mm,
But it was something that she was able to save up for over a long period of time, it sounded like. So
mm.
I think that's really cool. And that's why I do want my kids to come up with something if they're gonna say a horse. I I've already said I would buy you a horse if it was just the cost of the horse.
Yeah.
So until you can afford the month to month, you can't have one. But hopefully it'll
Bless
be
them.
something less.
Lofty goals and all that.
Yes. And then we did find some
Ask them
good.
to save up for a great holiday. Like, ask them to take you to
Yes,
Hawaii or something. They can
there
save
we
up for
are.
that.
My gosh, did you listen to the podcast? Because the dad actually asks the daughter to save up to take her to Hawaii. Great
It's just my
minds.
go-to. I say that to mine all the time. Just like, if you've got any spare pocket money, pop it in the Hawaii pot.
Yeah. Love that. I love
Bless
that.
them.
I think that the other piece that worked for us was books. My kids, I think for a heavy topic like this, they just want to be read to. I
Mm,
don't know if it sounds more personal or it's less easy to like have your mind drift when you're listening to something. And so I of course have my Usborne Lift the Flap questions and answers about money,
nice.
which is perfect for my youngest, who is also 6. And it's super cute, easy to go through, interactive. That's one that I pulled out. We've read it before, but we'll go through it again. I have another one that's like a kids version of it's the no nonsense, meaning like KNOW, like no nonsense
Mm-hmm.
guide to money. An
Nice.
awesome fun guide to the world of finance. And what I like about this is each concept is a page and there's all these great
Mm,
topics: income, profit and loss, crowdfunding, banks, investing, and it takes
nice.
one page to show. So it's very short.
Yeah.
It's colorful and it's broken into the topics of what is money and then earning, saving, and spending
Mm-hmm.
and borrowing. So it was kind
Yeah.
of broken into those concepts, which are really cute.
Mm,
Then I have like older ones, investing for kids. This was recommended by someone on Instagram. And I like this one because it's really colorful and it shows a lot of just like fun diagrams.
nice. Yeah.
And it talks a lot about the history. So it'll go into like money. Who invented money? How is it manufactured? How did we end up with our monetary system anyway? And it goes into the historical notes, the history of money. So it talks about how money has
Mm,
changed, how we've gotten to where we are today. It talks about stock. It talks about financial bubbles. It definitely is not something for my younger two, I don't think, at this
mm,
point. But I think parts of this we could start to get into. I don't think it's ever
yeah.
too early. And then I have another one, investing for kids from piggy banks to portfolios, which is super cute as well. This one is black and white, so it's less colorful, but it does have like a younger tone to it. It also has history in it, which I think is really cool. And then it has all these like fun facts. And so, for example, one of the first fun facts says that like, currently the highest denomination of the US dollar is 100. However, there were denominations of 500, 1,000, 5,000, and 10,000. What's really cool is that they are still considered legal tender and might still be out there in circulation.
That's cool.
So it's just like all these fun little facts.
Yeah. I knew you'd have
They
some good
just,
books. Because
yeah,
Ashley
I
is our
know, right?
bookworm. She's always got some good books. We'll have to definitely list all those on the blog because I think there was a couple there that I
Yeah.
was looking at. Um,
Yeah.
I
Oh,
had
and
a
I
few
love
that I
older
put in the
books.
basket. So I'll certainly kind of look those out and go back and find those because I wasn't sure, looking at the sort of front cover, I wasn't sure if they were the right ones or not, but I like the look of those. That's really cool.
Yeah, they're really cute.
And I think what's really important to recognize with these subjects as well is that ultimately I don't think I got a lot of this education as a child. I definitely was obviously taught math, and I had lots of the grasping and concepts of addition and all the rest of it. But business studies was a whole separate thing that you chose, you could opt in or out of at GCSE
Hmm.
level, and so I never got any of the business understanding. And I went into employed work thinking that that was the only real way to make money and that's the only way to be stable and all the rest of it. And ultimately, that wasn't. And I should have known, if I'd have known a lot more about kind of the concept of growing my own portfolio or investing in things, or like I didn't invest in anything, no stocks, no nothing. I had savings accounts, but no investing apart from my property until about
Yeah.
3 or 4 years ago. And it's just all this stuff that I just was never taught about. It was never on the conversation topic list at school, at home, nowhere.
Hmm.
And so ultimately, I know that that has left me, like, if I'd been able to invest in some stuff when I was, I don't know, 18, 19, 20, then goodness knows how much those things would be worth now. And
Yeah.
ultimately would have helped to potentially kind of dig us out of some of the holes that we've ended up in. So I have definitely found myself feeling more intentional since starting this. I know it's only been a weekend and I get that we're all going to kind of like, we have dip in and out of subjects all the time, but it has definitely made me think that this is something that I do want to ensure we keep a part of our learning. That I talk to them about. It doesn't have to be a constant project and a constant like drilling it into them, but it's certainly something that we can bring into conversation, talk about budgeting, talk about why we don't spend all our money on dominoes, why we spend our money on books to learn more things, to be able to invest in ourselves, to grow and to do more things. Like I've spent money on, for example, like the ADHD coaching course. It was a massive investment into myself, but it's worth it because that will equate to me having a bigger, stronger business going forward and I can help more people and it helps me to succeed in life. And obviously the time that they spend investing in their learning and the topics that they put their energy behind and all those moments when they are developing their social skills and all of it, it's helping them to understand that all of that does equate to what their life, the expectancy they can have of their life and what they're going to kind of get out of it later. All those things are investing in the future. And so I do think it's really important to kind of bring this conversation up from time to time as they are kind of wanting to impulse buy something, or
Hmm.
when they just want you to be frivolous, or when you know what I mean, all these moments when you kind of go, well, I know you want me to spend 10 quid on ice cream, but if I go to the shop, I can buy a packet of ice creams for 2 quid and then everyone gets an ice cream for £2 versus if I buy them here, which would be £10. And it's like helping them to understand that there is actually an importance in saving that money and that saving it
Yeah.
means we get these bigger, better things later. And that is a really important skill. And it's something which I think so many people, I mean, I knew people age 18 who were already blacklisted, who literally just for credit, like they literally, like they'd
Yeah.
gotten credit cards the second they were allowed one, they'd maxed them out, they couldn't keep up with the repayments. And all of a sudden they're payday loaning and getting themselves in a massive hole. And yeah, just shocking, like absolutely shocking. It was myself and my partner at the time, who I'm still with today, like we met when I was 17. We had a place, we had money in the bank, we were saving really hard to buy our own home. We did all the things, and we got to go on holidays and all sorts because we were really very, very frugal and we kept a lot of our money and we saved a lot of our money. And it really shocked people that I worked with at the time because obviously everyone was so young. We're like 18, 19 years old. And they're like, how are you going on a holiday? It's like, because I don't come to the pub every Friday night and spend my entire pay packet. It's like
Right.
you guys literally spend the whole thing every Friday afternoon. Like that is nuts to me. It's like, fine, you've had fun, but have you actually like got anything to show for it? No. And I'm not a very materialistic person. I much prefer experiences and life lived. And I'm hoping to drill that into my kids as well, that we remember like the memories we make are the moments, not the stuff.
Yeah.
And that's like most of the time that is the case. Maybe you might remember a car or you might remember a house or something, but not so much like that particular cuddler you got from that zoo that one time. It's like, it's just not going to
No,
stick with you forever, is it?
and I think that the piece to this too that's really important is like they're gonna make mistakes. And so to the story
Yeah.
that you said of like friends that were already in financial trouble at such an early age, like I want my kids to make those mistakes now when it's like 30 pounds of their pocket
Yeah.
money versus
Yeah.
like they now owe like 30 grand to a credit card company.
Yes.
So
Exactly.
I think like that's the piece where I really want to say like you have this much money in your bank, and if you want to spend it all on that, that is your choice and you're going to feel the repercussions of that,
Yeah, where
positive
they
or
buy some like
negative.
really, really cheap plastic toys that break 5 minutes later and they're
Yes,
really gutted. And you're like, you don't want to say I told you so. You don't need to be cruel about it, but you certainly have had moments when I've been
it
like,
does. Yes.
you keep buying these things and they break every single time and you're sad. It's like, remember, quality investments get us quality outcomes. If we're buying something which we know is going to fall apart, please remember that. You're going to be sad.
Yeah.
Like, don't buy another one. You know it's a waste. So, yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's really
And
interesting.
it is. And one of the things that I think is really interesting, just like sort of tapping into our last season and like changing perspectives and like thinking about the other side of things. I'm much like you in saying that I love experiences. It's super important for me to travel. That is just something that I really, really feel strongly about. But there are individuals who don't think that at all.
Mm,
For this fascinating book, and I can't remember the name of it, but I could look it up to get it. But that speaks about a couple who didn't have a lot of money, but it was really important for the wife to travel, and she really wanted to go to Paris, and they only could afford to send her. And so the husband stayed at home, and she went and got to do this travel. And then I don't know, 10 years later or 20 years later, he got to go.
mm,
And it was really important, like that they were able to do this trip. But they couldn't do it together because financially they couldn't afford to send two people.
mm,
That said, part of the story talks about how I don't remember if it was like their son or just someone else, but how he was saying that he doesn't ever travel because he's like then you just end up coming home and you have nothing to show for it. Like yes, you went somewhere and you saw something different, but there's no physical component. And
mm,
so for that person to spend money on something that you don't get to hold for more than the week that you travel is a waste of money to them.
mm.
So like they don't value travel because it is not a permanent thing.
Tangible, not a
Yeah,
tangible
it's
physical
just
thing to keep.
nothing that they can hold. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's really interesting. So like for that person, they might prefer to have a newer car or upgrade their TV that they
Mm,
see like every day because they feel like that's more important than spending a ton of money for a week experience that then you have
yeah.
nothing left. Like you've done it and it's over and that's it. And so I think that's really interesting because that's not how I feel.
No, yeah, it's again, it's an important reflection to actually to
Yeah,
consider why people might prioritize spending on certain things. And I suppose it depends as well sometimes what you lacked or what you didn't get to have a lot of growing up,
100%.
because then
Your
it
life is
might,
100% going to drive that. Yeah,
yeah, it's
100%.
crazy.
Yeah, so I think like talking to kids about like their goals and what's important to them obviously could be different from what's important to us, and
Yes,
that's
very
fine.
true.
It's totally
Yeah,
fine. But yeah, at least just allowing them to experiment with it and hopefully make
yeah.
some mistakes now that they can learn from for when it really matters will be good.
I think
Yeah.
this has been really fascinating. I hope everybody else will agree. I know we've talked to you about it for quite a long time, but it's a really great subject, and I think it's definitely one to explore. And I'll be really fascinated to know, like, if you're now listening to this and you've done some stuff too, like you're joining in with this as we're going along, or if you're kind of listening to this and you're now going to go away and do some of our ideas or try some stuff out, please, please, please come and tell us. Come and comment on one of our posts on Instagram or TikTok or whatever, and tell us what you've been up to. But obviously, now we basically get to pick for next week. So whilst we kind of
Something new.
wrap up all the fun stuff that we're still doing about this subject, this is going to get hilarious. By the end of this
I know we're
couple of
going to be
months,
juggling so many things.
honestly, me and Ashley are going to be a mess.
Forget math and language arts. It's all the extracurricular.
That's fine. We've done Monopoly. We've done some maths. It's all good. So yeah, so we're going to pick another one. So we've got another one in here. I wonder what we're going to get. Hopefully we'll get something slightly more fascinating than this one felt to start off with. But yes, it is a completely different one. Yay. I was really
Good.
hoping we would. So we've got food around the world.
Okay.
So this is a tricky one in our house because obviously we are a neurodivergent family, which means that we have some quite specific eaters. And this does frustrate me. I'll be perfectly frank. Like I feel like I spend an awful lot of my time
Oh,
trying to
yeah.
make my kids try foods that they absolutely are not going to want to eat more than a tiny, tiny mouthful. At the end of the day, it doesn't stop us learning about it
Right.
and experimenting with things. And I mean, they had bao buns for the first time the other day. And sure, okay, they had just like plain shredded beef and a bit of salad in it, but they really liked them. And I was like, oh my God, for the win, something new. Trust them to be
Yeah.
something like really expensive. But ultimately, it's fine. We'll find some new things. Um, but I love this one. I'm a massive foodie. And obviously, like we're just talking about travel. This is one of the main reasons why I travel. I love eating the food from different countries and seeing and
Yeah.
experiencing and smelling the spices and the flavors. It is just the best. Where do you like, what are you thinking about this so far? Like, does your brain instantly go anywhere with this subject?
Well, first, it's like a bit of panic because I don't love cooking with my kids.
No.
It's something that they'll do. They are happy to do it.
Hmm.
They really are, but I hate cleaning up after, and often I will let them get distracted. I'm like, "Yeah, I'll finish up. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, I was going to say they'll run off. You can just finish
You
the darn
stir
thing and
in
move
the
on.
chocolate chips." Yeah, but I think it's important to let them learn how to do these things for themselves because, 1, it makes it easier for you, if
Hmm.
you can just say, "Hey, go make these muffins." But 2, it's important for them to have the confidence to be able to do that. So, this is good. I don't know that we'll necessarily make a ton of food from around the world, but I imagine definitely we'll do a couple things.
Yeah.
And then we will maybe even try a couple places out. Like there's a Korean place near us. Like maybe we could try that, study a little bit about it. Those kinds of things. We did recently have tacos. And the girls liked them. So that worked out really well.
Yeah.
I was shocked by that. I think they like constructing their own food. That's what I got
Yeah,
from
that does
that.
always work quite well, doesn't it? You put it all on the table and they can just help themselves to
Yeah, and they
bits.
get to like make their own little thing. So yeah, so I think that would be good, and hopefully we'll find something else that they like. Because yeah, I mean we get in the food rotation rut, and it's like how
Mm.
many times can we eat pasta in a week?
I think what's quite handy as well, if you have got specific eaters like me, I was just found myself sitting here thinking, well, okay, they liked the bao buns. They also, my son likes sushi, and my daughter will eat like versions of sushi. She was making she was making mashed potato in spring greens into sushi last night.
Oh my
She's a
god,
strange little creature sometimes. But the one day she'll
that's
listen to
actually
this,
it's
be
there
like,
though.
"Excuse me,"
I can visualize it wrapped in like potato wrapped in lettuce.
she's so random. Yeah, I'm just thinking like you can always do it retrospectively as well. So like foods that they have liked is that we can learn a little
Where
bit
does that
about
come
Japan
from?
and we can learn
Yeah,
about why they eat so much rice and seaweed and
yeah,
like why is that a
yeah.
thing? Like where do those foods come from? Why do they have so much of it there? The climate, etc.
Hmm.
I think there's also some really fun but gross things like obviously they can't try it really, but the is it Capadului or something? Like, it's a type of small cat-like creature that eats coffee beans and puts them out, and then it's made into this special delicacy over in Bali that we that we
Hmm.
tried. I can't remember exactly what it's
Please
called,
don't try
but
to do that. I can just see your daughter trying to feed your kittens coffee beans. So
could you
don't
imagine?
don't talk about that with her.
No, maybe not. But I can certainly we can talk about some of the like really weird foods that people eat around the world. That could be really quite funny. Um,
Yeah. And also like places where there aren't a lot of food. Like we're reading a book right now that takes place in China and it's talking about like the family works all day just to have one bowl of rice at the end of the day.
mm,
And they got a goldfish and they had to feed the goldfish, obviously. And the mom was really upset that the daughter bought the goldfish because she's like, we don't have any extra rice to feed your fish. And the girl
yeah,
ended up giving her fish or releasing it really because she said, I don't want my dad to have to give away his 4 pieces of rice,
yeah,
even 4 pieces of rice, because they
yeah.
have so
So
little that.
scarce.
Yeah. So I think there's even ways to talk about food waste
Yes.
and like also like places that what restaurants in our area or what shops in our area donate food that isn't used. Like
Yes.
is there a way to kind of get a sense for what that looks like? So yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunity to kind of take this in many angles actually.
Yeah, that's really, really important, I think. And I think definitely kind of going into the like where things grow well and where things don't grow well, and therefore why certain areas tend to. And also, I mean, maybe just like if you look back at like the way that we have made food historically, we should have been hunter-gatherers, and we've gradually become kind of sat down, started to farm land and become agricultural. But actually that was the start of the demise of human beings and the growth rate of disease and all sorts of issues in humans. There's lots of history behind it as well. Okay, this was interesting.
Okay.
I always find as soon as we start talking about it,
points.
we're just like lots of things we could possibly cover. So it'd be interesting.
Yeah.
So like last week, me and Ashley have to go away now and do this task without talking to each other. We're not allowed to tell each other what we're doing. So we don't want to give each other ideas. So then we come back and we share what we've done at the end of the week. And yeah, so we'll obviously be catching up on it ourselves in a week's time. But if you guys are joining in with us, food around the world is your topic. Go have fun with it. Come up with some great ideas. Come and share with us what you end up getting up to on TikTok and Instagram, or send us an email, whatever you want. And then we'll obviously tell you what we did next week. But thank you guys for listening, as always, and we'll see you again soon.
You've been listening to the Big Home Ed Conversations podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share with a friend. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Big Home Ed Podcast for updates. Also, check out our new website at bighomedpodcast.com. We'll be back next week to talk about our experiences bringing the topic of food around the world to our children. We hope to hear your experiences as well, so come talk to us about it on social media. Thanks for listening.